Max Kellerman here with Chael Sonnen once again. Chael, I always appreciate when you jump on with me. We were working together this last weekend. What is it, Monday? So, 36 hours ago, we were in Houston watching Ciryl Gane make a statement against Derek Lewis. Your impression?
Max, I got to tell you, you greatly influenced me on this. So I want to run with an idea, but I'll fully admit I stole the idea from you. But it was simply this. Going into this fight, if Ciryl Gane looks great, if he comes out the backside, still undefeated, still dominant, never taken down, never having lost a round, and has a 12-pound gold belt around his waist, he can change the public's perception in that. It could be the first time that Francis Ngannou goes to the fight as an underdog. I believe you even compare that to Bolta versus Mike Tyson. Now, the reason I say that is it's one thing to compliment Ciryl. It's one thing to talk about his kicks, his understanding of distance, his anti-wrestling, his uppercuts, it's his pressure. It's a whole nother thing to talk about a star being born. Look, there's plenty of guys that are undefeated. There's not very many of them that have only been in the sport for 3 years, and there's almost none of them that haven't lost a single round. Ciryl is something special, and this one for me wasn't about the title. For me, it was about a number one contendership. We were finally going to have clarity in the heavyweight division, and Max, we've got it.
Yeah, by the way, has anyone made the surreal joke? He's surreal. No, has anyone made that? I can't be the first one to make that. Am I the first one to make it? This guy is completely dominant. And I think back to Brock Lesnar. And the reason I do is light heavy was always the glamour division in the UFC, right? That's where all the talent was. And heavyweight, though you had good fighters, it was never like this is the place to be. When Brock Lesnar showed up for a second, I like Cain Velasquez for Brock. There was something about Brock Lesnar because he was larger than life, and we already knew him as a popular culture figure, before he got to MMA. And when he won the heavyweight title, I thought, oh, wait a minute, is something going on here? But he didn't have the staying power at the top. It's not easy. These guys right now, Francis Ngannou he ripped through the division after losing to Stipe, then came back and knocked out Stipe, right? Gane has beaten real good fighters recently. Rosenstrike beat up Derek Lewis. He's undefeated. And then, of course, John Jones, many people consider the GOAT, wants to fight at heavyweight. No disrespect to Stipe, but Stipe just got knocked out, right? And then he lost to Cormier, and he hasn't been on the kind of roll that these guys have been on. For the first time, I feel like heavyweight, Chael, could be the glamour division. We have a round robin of guys like, right, is Gane going to be favored against Ngannou? And then what about if John Jones comes back for the first time in his life? Will he be the underdog because he's giving up bulk to these guys? It could be a golden era of heavyweights.
Yeah. Hey, I love what you're saying there. And not to mention, just as a reminder, the heavyweight belt has ever been defended. The record is twice, and that's by Stipe Miocic. Now, the reason for that is what you just laid out, Max. It is musical chairs. These styles are very different. It was hard for me to watch Ciryl versus Derek and not instantly be thinking, how would Francis do in this situation, or how would Jones do in this situation? And bringing that to mind, now that we see that Ciryl is the number one contender going to move forward, Ciryl versus Francis is a very different analysis than Ciryl versus Jones, which is why grabbing that belt and hanging on to it has been so hard historically.
Now, a lot of MMA, listen, I expected when I started talking MMA, I was going to hear a lot about being a casual for the hardcore fans in like comment sections and stuff on Twitter or whatever. And I love it because when you're in this business, Chael, as you know, you don't have time to stop down and explain every nuance. Right? So, and say, I'm going to protect what I say by prefacing it with X, Y, and Z. Okay, now you just got to say what you think. And if people want more information or misunderstand or whatever, that's their problem, right? I mentioned that's how it is. After José Aldo beat Pedro Munoz, and I thought Munoz might win that fight. When the way Aldo looked, I thought, okay, Conor McGregor, when he comes back, is going to need to be put in with a smaller striker or he will lose. You have to find a smaller striker for Conor McGregor, in my opinion, if you want to get him back on the winning path or have a chance. But also it's Conor, so you got to make big events. Thought, well, the way Aldo looked, could they meet at a catch weight? Like, could Aldo go back up to 45 and Conor come down? And I knew everyone, he's not a 145-pounder anymore. But this happens to fighters in boxing, too, at times, where at a certain point, they lack the discipline to stay in a weight class, right? And even though, yes, their bones have gotten a little denser as they've gotten older, whatever, and they should be moving up, but sometimes it's like maybe you still could make that weight and you just don't want to torture yourself to do it anymore. And whether it's at 45 or 55 or whatever, I love the idea of Conor-Aldo rematch. Does Conor have a chance? Let's say Aldo agrees to go up to 55 because it's a big money fight. Conor have a chance in that fight?
Definitely. And, José Aldo hasn't had a good night's sleep, at least not from the competitor in him, since he got beat by Conor McGregor. He's always wanted that one back. I only bring that when you do talk about the size difference. And you're right. The kids on social media are going to point that out that we're discussing it. But what's Jose have inside? I mean, Jose deserves something good, too. And if you are doing the booking of Conor McGregor and you want to get him, as you said, back on track, yes, he needs somebody smaller. He needs somebody that's purely going to strike with him. I think José Aldo checks a lot of boxes.
Yeah, he does. I wanted to talk about one more fight before we get out of here, Chael. The Luque fight, Vicente Luque against Michael Chiesa. Going in, I thought Chiesa was going to win that fight. I thought that he had more ways to win. And Luque, if Luque was going to win, Brett Okamoto and I were talking about this going in. If Luque was going to win, it's because he has that thing that refuses to lose. There are fights you see, and I think this was the case with some of the guys that Conor fought on the way up, where they thought they wanted to win, and then they ran into a guy who really wanted to win, who needed to win. And there was a little more give in those guys. And Chiesa's a real good fighter. And since he moved up, he's been on a streak. And I thought he was just very, very good. And it's nothing to take away from his will to win. But Luque has something extra there. And when he almost got, like Chiesa almost had him twice at least. 3 times he went for the choke. And twice he almost had him. And Luque even said after the fight, he had it 80%. He was 80% there, but 80% ain't 100%. And Luque winds up submitting him. I was very impressed by that because to me, that's the difference between a contender's mentality and a champion's mentality. Luque can also get you a lot of different ways now. He can get you standing up. He can get you on the ground. I'm very impressed. Where are you with him?
Yeah, so you're talking about poise, and Max, I saw it the same way. I appreciate the submission hold. I know that's the trick that he's got in the bag, but it's the same way that he finished Chiesa, and I'm talking about Luque here. It's the same way that Luque finished and ended the run of Tyron Woodley. Point being, Chiesa knew it was coming. He studied it. He prepared for it, and he still could not stop it. Now, as much as I appreciate the submission, much more over, I appreciate the poise. I appreciate the composure that Luque was able to go in there, stay calm, even as he was taken down, even as things were starting to get a little tight for him. That was the championship quality that I saw. I thought his call out of Kamaru Usman was very on point. Kamaru responded. Look, you're not going to get all the call outs that you go for, but there's other positives, such as getting the champion to publicly respond, and the champion did publicly respond. Max, you and I have seen this a million times, but it also goes back to what you were talking about with Ciryl and public perception should he get over. Fighter never knows when his night's going to be. He never knows what is going to be the one that sticks, that makes the pundits and gets me the mandate of the masses in the audience. For Luque, it was this one. There was something about the placement of the card. There was something about staying poised. There was something about finding that submission and capping it all off with a call out of the champion. It worked. Luque now in that division matters.
You know what's crazy? You're right, because he called out the big dog. If he was calling out anyone else, I would not dismiss his chances. Not that I'm dismissing his chances. I really like Usman against anyone in the division. I think he's the best pound for pound fighter in the world right now. But I would not discount Luque. Like I want to see him. I would, instead of Usman next, and I don't think he's going to get him next. I want to see him in with a genuine top 6-7 guy and see how he does, because there are some guys who look like they're tough, they're physically strong, maybe they can strike on the way up, but you don't know if they have that kind of next level technique. But if they have enough technique and they have the other stuff that Luque has, like the mentality, the mettle, they could be a tall order for anyone. And I'm really interested to see Luque in a step-up fight, even from this, before he gets to Usman. He might be able to if he wins that fight, he could make a big fight with the champ.
Look, Leon Edwards has an open dance card. Leon matters. He's been ranked number 3 in the world. We've been told that he's going to go into a number 1 contendership before that fight got signed. Insert Colby Covington, so Leon's going to have to wait. I think that's a great direction to go. Khamzat Chimaev is also a very fast track to main event status at 170 pounds. So I think those options are probably a little more likely for Luque, but I can't complain. He did everything right, and he got the response that he was looking for.
Well, look at that. We got Ciryl Gane, the landscape, in a way that I don't think people fully understand yet. Like maybe the whole way the heavyweight division is perceived just changed in a way that I don't think even people are fully conscious of after that fight. We got Luque coming up in the world as looks like he could be a legitimate title challenger. And you got Aldo really reestablishing himself. I mean, he's been in the process of it, but with a big win. I thought it was a pretty big night in spite of the fact it wasn't covered as some recent cards have been covered. I think it was kind of a landscape-altering night in its way. Had a lot of fun calling it with you, Chael, and always have a lot of fun when you jump on with me on these YouTube hits. Appreciate it, brother.
You know what? I feel like you're trying to wrap it, like you're kind of kicking old Chael off here. So, Max, thank you, and hopefully I'll see you next week. Until then, I've had it with you.
Thanks, Chael. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.